Hey guys, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be talking about the topic of content and specifically how to turn that into a cash machine in your digital business. This video is for people with real skills, and maybe you've been working in the real world, coaching, creating, building something offline, and now you're realizing that the rules have changed. You've got the credibility, you've got the track record, but the digital presence that attracts clients and creates leverage, well, that bit feels a little bit fuzzy. If you're a creator, a coach, or someone who just has skills and is ready to monetize their audience and personal brand, then this video is for you. If you want to break out of your local bubble and create a global audience that buys, I'm going to take you through a little roadmap. So a few years ago, I had a real wake-up call. I looked around and I saw creators with half the experience and half the skill set who had 10 times the visibility and 10 times the inbound leads. But not because they were better, it was because they were louder and more consistent. And they understood something that I didn't yet. Attention is the most valuable asset you can own. So I did what any great operator does when the rules change. I built a system that took my expertise, which was essentially the stuff that I was getting paid for in private, and turned it into magnetic, repeatable, and client converting content in public. And now I teach that exact same thing to people who are sick of being the best kept secret in their space, and they want to take advantage of the digital landscape that we now live in. But before I get into the framework, we need to talk about the old model, which I like to call the industrial world model. You sold time for money, your reputation was local, your audience, well, that was basically whoever was in driving distance of your business, and your income was essentially capped by geography and the hours that you have in the day. And guys, that game is over. Now that the internet's here, we have a new model. You can now sell your knowledge, not just time. Your reach can be global. Your earning capacity is unlimited, and the only thing that will really limit it is the way that you're able to creatively think. And now your calendar is your own, and you get to create a lifestyle first business. Hence why I'm in Bali creating this video for you. It wasn't all that long ago that I was in the hair industry, stood behind a chair 10 hours a day, thinking to myself, there has to be more to life than this. So here's the big shift. You're no longer just a practitioner, you're a media company. The literal mindset shift for me was, oh yeah, I'll make content when I have time, to implanting a media department into my business. Even though it only consists of a couple of people, but that's the level of certainty and conviction that it takes. There's a line that I love to use in our coaching group. People don't know what you don't show. And they definitely can't buy what they can't see. And if your expertise aren't online and visible to them, you essentially don't even exist. And let's face it, they're never gonna work it out on their own. So let's get into the good bit. Let's talk about why systems matter when it comes to creating content in your digital business. Content isn't hard because you're not creative. Content is hard because you don't have structure. The reason that you feel that block isn't because you don't have ideas, it's because you lack a system and clarity. And here's the thing, consistency isn't just about discipline, it's about the infrastructure that you build around your content and inside your business. And that's where this whole idea of the content cash machine comes in. What I realized through coaching business owners is that they don't need another content calendar. What they need is a decision-making framework. And that helps to define your value in the way that your audience actually understands. It helps you to generate infinite ideas from what you're already doing. It helps you to script content that actually converts instead of just entertaining. And one of the most important parts is it builds a content ecosystem, not just a nice aesthetic feed that's nice to look at. So let's look at that and break it down a little bit. The people that win online are absolutely surgical about who they help. They really dial in their dream client avatar. You see, most creators speak to everybody, and that's why they're heard by nobody. So the whole idea is to flip that on its head. You need to get super clear on who you're talking to and who your products are for. And then I love this idea of designing content like a sniper, not like a sprinkler. Because when your content and your message is that precise, it does two things at once. It attracts the right people and it repels the wrong people. As Seth Godin says, that's building raving fans and a cult-like following. So once you know who you're speaking to, then it's all about creating ideas for those people to consume. And again, that requires a system that generates relevant and high converting ideas every single week. And here's a little bit of truth. Your best ideas aren't necessarily hiding in your camera roll. They're in your everyday conversations. When you start viewing every conversation, every DM, every client objection as a content asset, you literally never run out of things to say. Now, this is a core shift from consumer to creator, from reactive to strategic. And in my opinion, everything is content. It is everywhere. You just have to have your eyes open and the awareness to see it that way. And the next thing I'm going to share with you is a point about scripting. This has been one of the biggest unlocks in my content creation business to date, because what we know is that great content isn't just what you say, it's how clearly you say it. The best performing content that converts, has one idea told really, really well. And then when you structure your message using a great formula like story, value, and CTA, you don't just educate, you influence. And let's just define value for a moment. Value is that for which a client would otherwise pay for. So when you're designing and scripting the value-driven step in your content, make sure it counts and make sure it's valuable enough. And imagine, would my dream client actually pay for this? Here's the psychology around it. Clarity builds trust, and trust leads to conversion. And trust is the ultimate aim of the content game. The goal is essentially to speed up the journey down the trust funnel. The faster you can get clients to go down the trust funnel, the faster they're likely to spend money with you. And one way to speed that up is with long form content, 47 minutes to be exact. It's been shown that if clients have 47 minutes of content that they can binge from you, they're way more likely to be asking for your help sooner rather than later. Okay, so now that you got your scripting down pat, now you got to film it, right? But what I've learned is that most people struggle on camera because they're thinking about themselves. And the fix is to not worry about being perfect. Just focus on being useful. Put it this way, you're not filming for vanity, you're filming for velocity. The more content that you can release and get used to, the faster you can calibrate. Because confidence is never going to come before the reps. It comes from the reps. And after you've filmed and shot a really good video, we need to focus a little bit on the editing. Now, don't overthink this part. I like to keep it quite simple, but we know that attention spans are short these days. Quality is subjective, but clarity is universal. So when you're editing, just use some basic principles, cut out all the ums and the ahs and the awkward gaps. Use subtle zooms in and out on key lines and key frames to keep the viewer's attention. And even think about using subtitles so that your video can be consumed in silence. Great content isn't just about beautiful scenery and beautiful aesthetics. It's about keeping the viewer's attention, because if they don't watch, they won't buy. End of story. Because all of the best people that I know in the digital business space, they all script their content before they even film it. Why? Because they know it's the words that make the sale. And one of the biggest struggles with business owners and their content is actually getting the viewer to create a connection after they've actually consumed the content. And this is where the captions come in. So generally the way that I like to think about it is the video or the content hooks the viewer, and the caption is what converts them. And ideally, you want your captions to sound like you're speaking directly to your dream client or your smartest friend. Make sure it contains some emotion, some storytelling, and a clear call to action at the end. So let's tie this whole framework up in a bow. Now we just have to focus on posting our content. Now this can be a little bit exhausting if you're posting content every single day. And if you're a business owner, I don't recommend that you do this yourself all the time. So again, just like everything else, posting also requires a system. You see, great content, running a great business off of content, and actually making sales isn't always about being the best, but it is about being consistent and somewhat loud. And one of the best ways to do this is to batch your content. Film a lot of content at once. Schedule that content, say for a week in advance, and always replay your greatest hits. And if all of that, creating content and posting content, is still overwhelming for you, and you have the resources, you can outsource this process. You can get someone to help you, like a VA or a content assistant, and then that allows you to stay regulated and stay in your zone of genius so you can keep creating and keep building a really great digital business. So in a nutshell, that's how to take your content and turn it into a cash machine. But look, there's always two types of people that watch videos like this. There's ones that watch it, and they nod along, they take their notes, and they end up doing nothing. And then there's the second type of person that takes this information, implements fast, and turns it into millions of dollars, and lives the life that they never want to run away from. So if you're the second kind, and any of this resonated with you, you already have the skill. You just need to build the machine that scales it. And if you need any help, I've dropped my Instagram handle and my email in the description below. Send me a message and I'd love to have a chat with you.